the second speech is to write a speech with a purpose. With her speech titled, The Best Breakup Ever. Please help me welcome Toastmaster Jolene Taracatac. Woo! All right.
She was wreaking havoc on my life. Nothing I did was ever good enough for her. She treated everything like a competition and had such a critical spirit. Even though we had been friends since elementary school, I finally decided that I had enough. For the longest time, she tricked me into believing she was keeping me safe, but really, she was robbing me of so much: peace, connection, growth, and the list goes on. She cared way too much about image and hated having fun. Although she had good intentions, she was toxic. She introduced herself to me at a very young age. My parents absolutely adored her because we studied a lot together and competed in piano competitions. They didn't know that she was robbing me of my peace. I constantly felt pressured to live up to her high standards. They didn't know that she was robbing me of connection. She often convinced me to hide because she didn't want anyone to judge me for my flaws. They didn't know that she was robbing me of growth. She made failure seem like a matter of life and death. Fellow Toastmasters and guests, you actually might know her. Her name is perfectionism. I finally decided that this friendship was no longer healthy for me and broke it off. It has been the best breakup ever. If you've ever been in a toxic relationship, you know how liberating the breakup can feel. You can finally do the things that that person used to hate. She tried to show up again as I was writing this speech, but I told her off. I wanted to share some methods on how I ended things with her, just in case she starts getting friendly with you too. I already demonstrated the first step. Number 1, turn your toxic thought into a character and give them a name. I heard this tip from someone and thought it was brilliant. I came up with another nickname for the perfectionist character in my head when I watched Cirque du Soleil Drawn to Life last year. The story is about a young girl named Julie who receives a letter in unfinished animation from her Disney animator father who passed away. As she explores the world of animation, there is a villain in the story who feeds on Julie's self-doubt and mistakes. Her character, appropriately named Miss Hesitation, is a crumpled ball of paper comprised of Julie's rejected drawings. She is the epitome of the perfectionist voice in my head. Assigning the voices in your head to a character helps you separate your toxic thoughts from the actual truth. Number 2, embrace a growth mindset by trying to learn a new skill or hobby and give yourself full permission to be terrible at it. Up until last year, I was convinced I had a growth mindset. If anyone asked me if my mindset was fixed or growth, I would have answered growth with no hesitation. That's until I listened to the audiobook Mindset by Carol Dweck last year. Former Toastmaster of our club, Hannah Randolph, mentioned this book in one of her speeches, but as a refresher, a fixed mindset believes that talent is something you are born with and that can't be learned. A growth mindset believes that you can become great at anything with enough focused effort. It was around that time I had just finished listening to this audiobook that I felt God was calling me to join a dance ministry. I don't know what your beliefs are on prophecy, but it is in the Bible. Anyway, I had received 3 prophetic words about me dancing at separate times, so I decided to explore it. It's worth mentioning that I have 2 left feet. Before listening to this mindset book, I was convinced that dancing was a talent someone either had or didn't have. Although taking classes was completely humbling, I proved to myself that it was, in fact, something that I could learn. I successfully learned a routine and performed on a stage, something I imagined I would never do. Did I perform on stage perfectly? Far from it. In all honesty, I may have been a half second off in some parts, but when I finished my performance, something unexpected happened. My teammates and friends all spoke words of encouragement and congratulated me on a job well done. I was expecting them to point out all the mistakes I made, and I was tempted to bring them all up. but I stopped myself and let them celebrate me. I was also reminded that the purpose of dance ministry is a form of worship unto God. It's not about performance. I heard God tell me that he isn't looking for perfectionism and that all he wants is a heart of worship. I think God was trying to break the spirit of perfectionism off of me through the dance ministry. Number 3, remember, perfectionism can rob you of connection. Nowadays, people are looking for real people, not perfect people. The more perfect you try to be, the less relatable you become. Because the truth is, no human is perfect. It's precisely what makes us human. Case in point, when I failed at my first few attempts of writing this speech, I remembered Ty Patton's speech when he mentioned having more drafts than he can count for his competition speech. I connected with that, and it inspired me to keep going. Imperfection can actually help you connect with people and make others feel less alone. If you're ready to break up with perfectionism too, remember these 3 steps. Number 1, turn your toxic thought into a character and give them a name. Number 2, embrace the growth mindset by trying to learn a new skill or a hobby and give yourself full permission to be terrible at it. Number 3, remember, perfectionism can rob you of connection. My fellow perfectionist, if this hesitation lives with you, I encourage you to throw that relationship in the trash and have the best breakup ever.